Chapter 6, Arrays and Array Lists, Part 1. So our goals for this chapter are to collect elements using arrays and array lists, to use the enhanced for loop for traversing arrays and array lists, to learn common algorithms for processing arrays and array lists, and to work with two-dimensional arrays. An array is a data structure. It's a collection of data. A computer program often needs to store a list of values and then process them. For example, if you had this list of values, how many variables would you need? If you had double input 1, input 2, input 3, and so forth, there could be a lot of distinct variables or discrete variables, and that could be a nightmare to process through all of them. So arrays are a way to collect all of that data and reference it with the same name, using a subscript or index to access each element. To declare an array, we use the data type followed by a pair of square brackets. Those are on the same key as the curly brace that you've been using all along, right near the Enter key on your keyboard. And then the name of the array. Note in example number, or bullet point number 1 on this slide, that when we say double values or double square brackets values, we are not creating any memory. We are not allocating any memory for that array. So it's just a reference. It's just saying, hey, there's going to be an array here. We just don't have it yet. Then in the second line, values equals new double 10, with the keyword new allocates the memory. And in this case, we're saying we want 10 values that are of type double. So shown in the graphic, that second line would create a section of memory with enough space for 10 doubles, and it would be referenced to by the name values. You cannot use an array until you tell the compiler how big it is. So we make a list with the following parts. We start with the data type, then we start with the square braces, and then we have an array name followed by a semicolon. And there are a couple of other ways that we can modify that at the end, but we'll see those shortly. We are declaring an array named values, made up of type double. All the elements are the same data type, they're double. And we have not yet said how many elements are going to be in this array. Arrays can be declared anywhere that you can declare variables. Don't use reserved words or already used variable names, the same way you would with any other variable. So then you have to reserve enough memory for all of the elements. Arrays are immutable. That means that their size can't change once you create them. So when we say values equals new double 10, we can't later on say access an 11th element or change it to 9. Its size stays fixed. And we'll see some strategies for coping with that characteristic. The compiler knows how many elements they are, and they're stored contiguously. You can think of them as being stored contiguously or all right next to each other. And we access each one with a subscript or index. Note in the graphic at the bottom, the first element in the array has the subscript or index of 0. That's because it's a 0 offset from the beginning. If we want to access the second element in the array, we have to go one more. So that's value sub 1. The third element is value sub 2, and so on. This is called zero-based arrays because the first subscript or index is always 0. A one-line array declaration can look as follows. Double square brackets values equals new double 10 and semicolon. So you can combine those two lines into one line, and sometimes that's very convenient. We can also create an array using initializer list syntax. We need the data type, we need the square braces, we need a name for the array, an equal sign, and then in curly braces, the values that we want to store in the array, followed by a semicolon. Java is smart enough to count all these up, and in the case of this example, Java is going to go, okay, I need 4 integers for this array, and that's how big that array will be, 4 integers. One more thing, you don't combine both styles. It's either using the initializer list syntax or using the keyword new, but not both. So to access an element in the array, we need to use the index or subscript, 2 words that mean the exact same thing. So in this case, when we say values sub 4, and note the way that I'm saying that, values sub 4, that will reference, the 5th element in that array, and in this case it's setting it equal to 35. So values sub 4 equals 35. We're using the array name followed by the subscript just the way we would any other variable of type double. So here's the syntax for the array. We start with the data type, the square braces, the name of the array, the equal sign, new, and the data type and the length, or the data type, square brackets, the array name, equal sign, and then the initializer list.